Akagami no Shirayuki-hime. Yeah, I watched a Shoujo anime for the first time.
Haven't you watched Cypher before?
Cypher is a collective delusion. It never existed. If I told you there was an anime with Phil Collins on the soundtrack, would you believe it?
No.
That's right, so it doesn't exist. Akagami no Shirayuki-hime is my first proper shoujo anime, so for that to be the case, it kind of means that I'm not the target audience of this type of genre. But every now and then it's good to explore outside of your knowledge bubble and see what's out there. Maybe you'll find something interesting, right? That's what happens when you ask for recommendations. Akagami no Shirayuki-hime, or the Princess Snow White with red hair. It's a story that is no mystery that takes its idea from the old fairy tale story, trying to do a different retelling and all. But, to tell the truth, after the first episode, it has nothing to do with the Snow White base anymore. So, you know, either they gave up on the parallels halfway through, or they just used the old tale as an eye catch, but it's alright. We follow the story of Shirayuki, a girl who is an herbalist, or phytotherapist. I never heard that word in my life before. Anyway, a person who uses herbs. No, not the one you are thinking of. And neither those crazy ones that they say they are medicinal, that come in unregulated plastic packages that people say have all sorts of effects. Shirayuki's story is set in a more simple, fantasy medieval world. And just like in your past, when someone got sick, the forms of treatment are based on natural items, roots, flowers, leaves, because these are the things they had access to and knowledge of at the time. Maybe they are not very effective, but whatever, it's what they had to work with. So Shirayuki is kind of like a local pharmacist who makes her own products. With the words I'm using, you really think she sells homemade drugs, right? It's not a lie, but you understand what I'm trying to say. This girl attracts a lot of attention wherever she goes, because of the color of her hair, which is not only red, but it's a very red, and is usually compared to an apple. This hair will be the reason for everything that happens in this story. The desire to have the exotic and different motivates the local prince to persuade her to be his girlfriend. She does not want that. The prince is a bit of an ass and will obviously try to force himself on her. She does everything that she can to get out of the clutches of royalty, but while fleeing, she meets a group and by chance, they come together in this whole story and help the red-haired girl get rid of all the bad that the color of her hair attracted. In other words, it's a fairy tale story that a simple little girl has something different, and because of that, she's thrown away by society. But a powerful person, a prince, sees the value of that, and the honest girl's life turns upside down, both into a bad nightmare, but also into a great dream. Then, it's a story that focuses a lot on poetic love, the one you lie down at night and dream of meeting someone completely outside of your reality, and what that would be like, and all the innocent romance that everyone at some point in their life idealizes. But no, it will never happen. It's an old story formula that captures this feeling that many people identify with, trying to show a pure world, with conflicts yes, but with clean and loving resolutions. For being such an old format, which has survived all these years, it has its charm, right? Now, the anime is more than satisfactory, but you can see that it's not a very high rating production. The scenes are designed very beautifully and vibrant, with amazing colors, but they are completely dead when it comes to animation. It's like taking a Bob Ross painting and putting an anime character on top of it. There's a certain disconnection between the two media. Its animation isn't bad, but it's a little dated. In all, it seems like it's an anime that was made in the middle of 2006, but with 2015 technology. We can't say that it suffers from the curse of the 2010. But your feeling is more that you are watching something from the time that the manga started and not something from 2015. But in any case, it's not enough to hinder your enjoyment in any way. As a whole, it's good, and throughout the season, it gets better, especially in mixing the sensational colors of the scenery and the art of the environment with the characters themselves. And when there's a fight, sheesh, it has more fluidity than a lot of anime that there is the focus. Now, the story. Even after watching the first season, I'm not, nor did I become the target audience for this genre, so what I'm going to say is more of my experience and what went through my head. You can't say it's a reference to whether you should watch it or anything like that. But anyway, now I'm going to call on all shoujo experts who are watching this video. Does every story has to have a romance that erases everything that is going on around it? You must know better than me if all shoujo are like this, but it seems that everything loses importance to focus all the attention Shirayuki love with Zen. Yes, that's kinda the main point of the story, what makes it a story of this kind. But how do I explain? The story goes through a part of the plot. There is a cool, interesting idea that could be well explored, but it quickly fades into the background for the love of the main characters. All the time, new ideas and interesting events constantly appear to move the story forward, to have a cool and engaging plot, but all of them are thrown into the background. Some points are so forgotten to pay attention to Zen and Shirayuki's legal love that they don't even need to be there. I certainly imagine that those who enjoy it and are already used to this type of genre like this a lot, and it's probably what makes it an interesting and enjoyable story to watch or read. But that, to me at least, makes things seem a bit too potato-y, and there's some emotions that I simply can't understand. How did X action provoke Y reaction from the characters? So much for very dangerous and tense situations that the characters vibe as if it's any other day. So much for simple throwaway situations that I didn't even give a single idea about, but the characters have a very emotional reaction like it's the worst thing in the world. Yeah, I don't know. This particularly takes away my immersion a little. It kind of seems like everything revolves around the idea of romance, but the situations that appear shouldn't always be revolved around romance. I don't know if you understand me, it's a bit forced perhaps. Then they go to an outpost where everyone is following you mysteriously. What's going on? Is it a curse? What will the characters do to solve this? Will they be able to save the soldiers? Oh no, it's just a wood that releases toxic smoke. Throw it away. More important than that, Shirayuki, how beautiful and wonderful and intelligent you are. Yeah, but there's no way to say this is a bad point, because as I already said, this is one of the main reasons that those who enjoy this type of story are attracted. Because everything can be very convenient, everyone can have exceptional insight and an ability to deduce things perfectly in mind of the character's feelings, but by focusing so much in these things, even at the expense of the story itself, the consequence is that the work deals a lot with the character's personal feelings, that perhaps some who end up watching identify with what's being shown. But in the small moments where the story frees itself a little from this restriction of always focusing on the romance, like in Atogi's flashback, you can get the taste of the potential that we see that is always thrown aside throughout the series. My perspective in particular, which is used to seeing complex story with high levels of intensity or mystery, it's certainly not the right one to deal with the type of story that Akagami no Shirayuki-hime is. The first moment the story ignores something that could be really developed, and something else interesting to give importance to the feeling of Shirayuki or Zen. I'm already... okay. Unfortunately, you lost me in the first turn. And even though I really like Slice of Life, it doesn't help much. On the surface, it could be that they are two teams that are close to each other, but in reality, they are totally different. One doesn't compare to the other. Finally, I wouldn't say it's a bad series. On the contrary, for those who like the romance theme, this here has a good quality, and the idea of Shirayuki being a drug dealer is very cool and adds to the romance, and gives more motivation to the characters to continue telling the story. And if you are not the type to watch shoujo anime normally, but you don't care so much about about what I've said, that everything revolves around the romance, even when it shouldn't, and so on. In addition to the animation, the anime gets better as the story progresses. They start to deal with things around the two main characters in a better way, even though I wouldn't say it was explored much, it is more developed. The situation and the characters as the story unfolds are treated with a better quality, and so when the romance parts arrive, it seems more real and has a very good fluidity that is not very present at the beginning and in the middle. The anime you finish watching doesn't even look the same as the one you started. Something that used to be a world and the romance of the main characters as something heterogeneous slowly becomes homogeneous, and you can see why many people really like this story even amid so many others of the same genre. But I don't think I will be watching another shoujo anytime soon, unless you guys really want me to watch or read a specific one. The constant pushing aside of interesting themes and plot points to pay attention to how Zen notices that Shirayuki isn't sleeping properly makes me more frustrated than I can admit. I know that many people have the same perspective, but I think it's not fair to judge a work whose focus is not to develop complex plots from the same perspective as other stories where that is the focus. Akagami no Shirayuki-hime is a story to sit back and relax watching a cute, innocent and lovely little romance, and forget that the world is going to hell. And in that, it does very well, for those who like it, of course.